Warning. This program contains strong language, auditory violence, and mental nudity. It is intended only for mature audiences. Listener discretion advised. Welcome back, all you Warcraft freaks, to yet another episode of your favorite uncensored podcast, Unshackled Fury. This is episode 12. I am still, unbelievably enough, your host, Berserker. And this week, well, what else do we have to talk about besides the movie? It is movie hype week. This is the week. This is what we've been waiting for. We have long heard of the rumors and the tales and had sweaty nights of, for many reasons, but also for dreaming about this movie, when it's going to come out, what are we going to see, is it going to happen? Well, it's coming out this week, unless you're overseas and you've already seen it, and I fucking hate you. No, I love you, but I'm very jealous. And so we'll get to that, talk about Warcraft movie hype for this week. Also going to talk about a big post that was put up this week by Celestalon regarding talent hot fixes that are going on with the Legion beta and what that means for us. Have a little bit of a cooking thing we're going to talk about. I'm excited about that one. And to finish up, I wanted to talk about the Blizzard recruitment process and working for Blizzard and all of the stuff that I've seen over the years and what that looks like and what that could potentially mean to you. So I hope everybody had a good Memorial Day weekend last week. I know I certainly enjoyed having my share of barbecue and hot weather, and it was nice to officially kick off, well, I guess it's the unofficial kickoff of summer, right? Summer doesn't officially start until the summer solstice, but, you know, I'm not a druid. I don't know. It's hot. It's 108 fucking degrees outside. That means it's summer to me. And so it's good having that time, having that extra day. Really makes a difference. You know, if you're on the, you know, sort of the 8 to 5 Monday through Friday schedule, like a lot of us working schlubs, that extra day, that one fine Monday of getting to, well, you don't get to sleep in if you have kids and shit to do and a honey-do list. You don't get to sleep in, but you get one extra day to kind of chill out, work on all of that stuff, and that's nice to have. But, you know, it is, in its core essence, the purpose for Memorial Day is to give thanks to all of our troops who have served, past, present, potentially future, their families, the sacrifices that they have made for us here in the United States and around the world, and it is for them that we give thanks on that day. And so, you know, many of us do that very trivial thing where we go, you know, thank you for your service, and, you know, it kind of ends there. And I'm as bad about this as everyone else is. You know, what else am I doing besides that? Because I don't mean to get too political on this show, but our veterans deserve a lot more help than they get. And if it's one thing that I have come across in my time playing Warcraft, particularly now with the raiding team that I'm on, is that you realize how many veterans play this game and how many you come across in your day-to-day travels across Azeroth. And on my team in particular, I know I have a couple. One of them in particular is possibly one of the biggest badasses I've ever met. And I'm sure if he ever found out that I'd said this, he might be a little embarrassed. So sorry, buddy. But here's someone who has had significant injury due to their service time. And this fucking guy is climbing mountains. And I'm not talking about like some mountain of, you know, in my mind, there's some real challenge I've got to overcome or whatever. No, this dude is part of a group that goes and they actually climb mountain, like Kilimanjaro, like big fucking real mountains that pussies like me aren't even going to go near and be like, nah, fuck that, man. I got to sleep outside. No, 2 days, maybe I'll handle that. But, you know, buried in snow and all that. No, you know, there's no way I'd be able to do anything like that. So while we get these sorts of holidays, and it is nice to be able to catch up and do these things, you know, never forget that there are reasons why some of these holidays do exist, and that these are people that we do come across in game. So if you ever find out that you have veterans on your team or that you come across them, at the very least, you know, pick their brain, give them thanks, and, you know, because they have truly sacrificed a lot for us. And, you know, regardless of your politics, I think that we can always support the troops. And, so once again, thank you to all of you. And you deserve better than what we can give you. So with that, let's move on to our first segment of the show, in which we're going to talk about one of the long-time battle cries that we hear in this game, and that is the death knell of WoW.
Let's rage.
So in the last episode of Unshackled Fury, I mentioned that there was an investor call, the first quarter earnings call for Activision Blizzard. And I had mentioned that at the time, those were the sorts of calls that usually created a vast amount of hysteria over WoW subscription numbers and, Warcraft is dying, and, we've lost another million, and, great hue and cry about the death knell of this great game of ours. And it was always sort of laughable, but at the same time, there was an element of truth in saying that during the Wrath days, when you had 11, 12 million subscribers, and then by the time we were in Warlords, we're talking about, 6 million subscribers. So you had seen a 50% cut in the number of long-term subscribers that you had. And you did see this sort of ebb and flow. Content patches or expansions are released, and then there's a swell of players, another million or two come in, and then they slough off again, and that cycle has just kind of gone back and forth. But that is what we always hear, right, is that thing about, WoW is dead, and these assholes don't know what they're doing. And I mean, you see the kind of vitriol on Twitter being spewed at these devs. It blows my mind, really. I mean, we're all just human beings trying to make our way, right? And you're telling somebody to, go kill themselves, and this is their livelihood. This is what they spend, 24/7, 365 thinking about, and you're telling them that they don't know shit and they're shit. And I mean, it's brutal. First of all, if you go around telling devs to kill themselves or any of that kind of shit, go fuck yourself. Seriously. I mean, there's no call for that. There's no reason for that. That doesn't help anybody. All that is just you proving that you're an unstable little bitch, and that you desperately need some sort of psychological assistance. That's number one. That's what that says. But number two, you need to think about this as a business. Blizzard is not in this to, just piss away money for no reason. And the point of me saying all of this is that, now, this is not an Overwatch podcast, and nor will it ever be, but look at the success that Overwatch has had. If you take a look around, you look at Twitter, you look on TV, you look at different internet sites, there is massive coverage for Overwatch right now, and according to recent numbers, it already has 7 million players within its first week. That's not bad. Not bad for a week-old game. But what is it about Overwatch that ties to this? Well, if you recall, Overwatch essentially was created from the carcass of Titan. And Titan was this long-rumored project that nobody really knew what it was. I mean, there were little bits and pieces that kind of leaked out from time to time, really minor stuff. I mean, you kind of knew that it was set in space, or there was some space element to it, that it probably was some sort of an MMO, but nobody ever really knew what it was. And you'd see the little postings on their hiring, on their recruitment page, saying, they were looking for digital artists or, various types of programmers or what have you, related to an unnamed title, because they couldn't tell us what it was at the time. We don't even know if they had a title. They've never told us. It was just Titan. That's all we've ever known it as, is codename Titan. And Blizzard was in production for this thing for years, and they spent millions of dollars. They had a huge team, apparently. They had an enormous team working on this thing. And they spent all this time and all this money and all these resources putting together this game. And what ended up happening? Well, if you're the cynical type, sure. You can look at it and say, well, they failed because they don't know what the fuck they're doing and they're stupid and na. Okay. If that's your viewpoint, fine. Again, please seek help. The way that I'd prefer to look at this, and the way that I encourage anyone else to look at this, is that Blizzard took a hard look at this game. And they said, you know what? This is not striking the balance, the playability, that level of fun, excitement, adventure that we want our games to have. And even with all of that time and money and resources spent, they pulled the plug. They pulled the plug on something that they had poured all of that effort into. And out of that, they created Overwatch, which we've seen just the tip of the iceberg. And They've mentioned this at BlizzCon, that they're essentially starting their own production studio, like a television movie type studio, like a media studio. We have seen the cinematics, we have seen the shorts, we have seen the little digital print that they've done with some of the comics, and that's just outside of the game. The game itself right now is sort of a base level game. You have some maps, you have a handful of characters, and some skins, and some other, shit that you can get on them. This is the base game. This is Blizzard. They are stretching their creative limits, and they'll keep doing it. And the point of all this is that Blizzard is a company, and it is led by people that are smart enough, that have enough wherewithal to know if they are going in the wrong direction with something, clearly cost does not impede this choice, they will pull the plug. And they will make the course correction that they feel is necessary to find that balance, to find that fun, to find that playability for us as the players, as the consumers of whatever this is. So every time I hear that WoW is dead, or there's something about how that's never going to survive and it's going into the ground and then this and that and everything else, to that I say, you have to have faith. You have to take a look at what this company has given us. You have to take a look at what these people have given us. I take solace in the fact that they know when they have fucked up. They don't always come out straightforward and say it, but I believe that they have enough insight and enough perspective on themselves to make course changes when necessary. So when they make changes to Warcraft and people start blowing them up about it, this is why I have always said, give them constructive feedback. Talk about things in an intelligent manner. Don't get pissy. Don't get whiny. Give them good feedback. These guys want to work with us. This army of men and women that they have creating this content for us, they want to give us good, fun, playable content. So the next time you see somebody saying that WoW is dead or WoW is dying or whatever the thing is, just put them on ignore, come along the ride with the rest of us, and enjoy all of the fun shit that we have to come.
And now it's time for News and the Blues.
All right, so Warcraft movie hype is on. This is the week, ladies and gentlemen. This is the week, at least those of us in the States, have been waiting for. You across the oceans out there, you in the international markets, well, you sons of bitches are the lucky ones. I don't know how on earth you guys got to go first on this. I can't believe that the producers of this movie were that scared of X-Men Apocalypse to not release it in the United States first, and that's just beyond me. But you guys got to see it first. But for the rest of us here in the States, in the homeland, waiting for Warcraft to finally show up on a theater near us, well, this is the week. And on June 10th, it will finally be in theaters. After the long road of watching other directors come and go, Sam Raimi being the most notable, hearing about some of the set pieces and the casting that was done and the filming that was done years and years ago, having seen the first sort of trailer, little bits and pieces that they showed at BlizzCon years ago, we're finally here. And so far, at least internationally, it's doing fairly well. The reviews thus far have not been so kind. Currently on the review aggregator site, Rotten Tomatoes, Warcraft is tracking right now at an abysmal 19%. 100% being, like a really good movie. Like, for instance, you have Captain America Civil War, which is at 90%. So it's a really good movie. People are responding to it very well. Warcraft, not doing so well. But here's something to keep in mind. As any of you are going through these reviews, you're worried about the movie, those kinds of things, remember, a lot of this was made for us. It wasn't made... this isn't going to be Shakespeare. We already know that. This is not The Godfather. This is not going to be any sort of Oscar-winning epic. And I think that if you went in with those expectations, you were only fooling yourself. What this is this is the cinematic telling of our story, of the original Warcraft story, Orcs versus Humans, with the Orcs coming from Draenor through the Dark Portal into the Swamp of Sorrows, that whole thing, right? That's what we're getting. And we're finally getting the Hollywood treatment for a story that we've known for 20-something years. So there aren't going to be a lot of surprises. Hopefully the script is well done and serves to be entertaining. But when you see these reviews, bear in mind that these people are not always going to be the most friendly to this genre. I mean, fantasy is a hard genre when it comes to films. Lord of the Rings struck that balance. It had a level of depth that I think people were at least a little bit familiar with, and the way that Peter Jackson and a lot of those actors handled that material was exquisitely done. And these are the kinds of comparisons that are going to be made. But I hope that everyone goes in with an open mind. I'm trying to just say, you know what? Fuck those guys. If they have bad reviews, I'm still going to go and enjoy myself and see, for the first time, orcs, see Lothar, see King Lane, see all these guys in full brilliant color with apparently an amazing score, by the way. The music is supposed to be quite awesome. And seeing all of the real-life visualizations of all these places that we know, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a blast. And so Blizzard, of course, is doing their part in hyping up the release of this movie that we've been waiting for so long. And one of those events was that a couple of weeks ago, or I don't know, maybe a month or so ago, there was a Horde versus Alliance Capture the Flag event that was conducted down at Universal Studios in Southern California. And it involved several, I would say probably 30 or 40 personalities from within the Warcraft and other gaming genre entertainment folks. I mean, to tell you the truth, maybe I'm too old that I don't know who most of these fucking people are. But I know that, for instance, the first couple of WoW, if that's such a thing, Bajira and Warcraft Gen were there. You had some other folks that I have no idea who they are. Markiplier, iHas Cupcake, Anna Prosser. There were people there from Nerdist, Mega 64, Funhouse, Rocket Jump, Warp Zone, GT Live, and it was hosted, or at least they had commentators, Michelle Morrow and Alex Albrecht, who you probably remember from BlizzCon if you've ever ordered any of those feeds. There was also an on-field reporter, and I felt like this poor asshole was just sort of the collateral damage the whole way through. Essentially what they had was this course set up where there were flags on either end. And I'll be honest with you, I have no idea what this has to do with the movie. There was very little about the movie being referenced other than that it was Horde versus Alliance. I guess it's just because we know what these things are. They had red team, blue team, and you had these sort of like chalk-colored ball. It kind of looks like the rosin bag that pitchers use. And some of them were blue, some of them were red, and you had to huck them at each other. And if you got hit, you had to go in this holding pen, which Skydart, who is a cosplayer, well-known cosplayer, was there, and she was, I guess, the the person holding people in. I don't know. There was a chest in the back of this holding pen that if you found the key, you could get something out of it, which we found out through the course of the event was a shield, so you could block, all of your incoming attacks. But what I thought was really cool is that Brian Holinka, Mr. PvP himself, was a quote-unquote warlock who was standing on one side of this sort of this narrow corridor that was set up, and he was in the middle of this where there was a sort of secret way that you could go to avoid people, and he was just pelting people with these bags, with these chalk bags. And for whatever reason, people were throwing shit at him too. I mean, maybe it was just finally getting that frustration out of, fuck you, Ashran sucked. I don't know. But, I mean, you couldn't throw him out of the game from what I could tell. But anyway, so it was just sort of this mass hysteria. And this whole course, it wasn't very wide. It was almost like it was in somebody's walk-in closet, practically. And it was just people bumping and running into each other and nerd sweat flying and, people primping and preening on the sides with their big fucking hair and just all kinds of weird shit going on. So I don't know what it had to do with the movie, but it was thrown to us as something that was entertaining. It was interesting to watch. Frankly, if it was up to me, I would have liked to have seen a larger course with maybe some bigger, sweatier nerds. Because I really want to see, people struggle. I want to see, like if you had me out there and I'm fucking just sloppy as hell and falling over and my pants are falling off, and I don't know, maybe bring Jesse Cox in. I don't know. He's a big dude, right? Get him in there and have him fucking wander around and sweat his ass off. And there's a bunch of us. That's what you need. You need some of us bigger, sweatier, nerdier types to be out there, because that's just fucking hysterical to watch us fail. I mean, really. Anyway, side note. So that was one of the big pieces that Warcraft put out this week in terms of their own hype for the movie. A lot of the other stuff, the very bad stuff that I've talked about in the past, the posters and the stuff on Twitter and all that stuff, that was all done by the movie people. This was actually done by Blizzard. So it was nice to see them have something out there from their own end. So now today, we actually have on Monday the 6th, we are going to have two events going on for the global premiere, I guess is what they're calling this, of the Warcraft film. And at 4:30 Pacific time, Bajira and Warcraft Jen are going to be taking over the Warcraft Twitter. So I don't know exactly what that'll involve, maybe answering questions or just hyping the movie. But nonetheless, they will be taking over the Warcraft Twitter at 4:30 Pacific time today on Monday. And at 5:30, there is going to be a Twitch live stream at /Warcraft with Jesse Cox and Michelle Morrow. So I assume that will be some sort of a red carpet treatment type thing, I hope. I mean, see Metzen, see what he's up to, get all the stars in there. I mean, this is our event. This is our show. This is as close as we're ever going to come to having the Oscar special or the Best and Worst Dressed and all that. I really hope they take advantage of this because I think it would be hilarious to have, a panel of 3 or 4 folks and they're critiquing what everybody, oh, look, he's wearing the latest fashion of Jinx. Oh, look at this Jinx sweatshirt. Isn't it grand? Oh, and they've even bedazzled it. Well, that must surely be the couture of the day. Oh, look at this. Is that Marc Jacobs? No. That's Mervyn's. Oh, okay. What are they wearing? Is that Chanel? No. Fruit of the Loom. Oh, okay. All right, good. Anyway, I think it'd be hilarious if they had something like that. So we'll see. So at 4:30 Pacific time, we'll have the Warcraft Twitter takeover by Bajira and Warcraft Jen, and the 5:30 Pacific time live stream of Jesse Cox and Michelle Morrow covering the global premiere event of Warcraft itself. And last but not least on this, I assume if you're listening to this show, you might be wondering what my opinion is of this movie. So just for you, I will in fact be seeing the movie on Saturday the 11th, so the day after the movie comes out here officially. And I will have my review up for you by Monday. So I'll try to get a quick turnaround on that and let you know all of my impressions of the film, what I thought of as many aspects as I feel I can get in terms of the way that the movie felt, what it looked like, how the actors did, how true it was to lore, all of those things, all the stuff at least that I guess I care about, I hope you think are important too. But hopefully the things that matter to us most, and you know what, fuck all those other reviewers, and we'll see what one of us, like I said, the whole point of this show is to bring something to you from one of us, not from one of the elites, not from the Hollywood few, nothing like that. So I will have that up for you, and as soon as I get it, I'll post it to all the usual places, and look forward to that next week. So the biggest piece of beta news, of Legion beta news that came out this week was a post by Celestalon talking once again about talent changes that they have hot-fixed in the beta, some of the talent choices, and he discussed a little more openly about the constant conflict they are having between what they call meaningful choice in terms of making talent choices depending on what kind of gameplay you want to follow versus what is punishing or not punishing depending on the situation, and AoE versus single target. So there will be another huge change coming to the beta, as he said that there was a hotfix going in to make some changes to talent choices and where they are in the sort of talent, not really tree, but the tiers that they have now. And the fact that they are now going to have to go in afterward and make several other related changes, because you can't just, with this, it's so complicated now that you can't just change one thing and call it good. You've got to, check a million other things to see where the balance is. And, do we have competing items on a tier? Or are we doing something we shouldn't be doing? Are we putting talents in one place where you can't actually use until you get to another level? And the whole thing is mind-boggling, to be quite frank. I have no idea how they keep all this shit straight. And all you theory crafters out there, my hat's off to you. I watch a couple of Asmongold videos, and I read some stuff by Arkham Tyros as a warrior, and that's pretty much where I'm at, because I just lose track of this stuff way too quickly. But the thing about this is that I don't really know how Blizzard is ever going to conquer this challenge, because now if we go back to the original talent trees, so if you go back to Vanilla, BC, and Wrath, you had 3 distinct talent trees for each class. You had essentially these long vertical strips of talent choices, and you could kind of mix and match where, maybe you put 10 in one tree and maybe 20 in another and however many in another, and you could kind of balance out, well, I want some self-healing or I want some defensive, but I need to be able to do this, I need to be able to do this. But the biggest problem that arose out of those, at least from Blizzard's standpoint, was that you ended up having what they called cookie-cutter choices, where people, theory crafters and everybody else, had gone out, they had combed through all the various choices, looked at the challenges that we had in raiding, mostly raiding, and had said, well, here's what you have to do. Here are the choices you have to make. And if you don't make these choices, you're an idiot, or you can't do as much DPS, or I guess it kind of depends on the source. But that's what ended up happening, was that you were wedged into certain choices. So Blizzard decided that, and this is, them trying to make an honest attempt at freeing us from that cage, said, okay, well, we're going to do away with that. We're going to do away with those talent trees, because it's become too much of a problem where there's one build, that's it, and you're out of luck. So they modified it, and they went to what we had with the glyphs, and because they brought those in, that was supposed to be whatever, Path of the Titans, I think, at one point. But then we got the glyph system, and the glyph system kind of added a few things here and there about empowering some abilities, maybe, or allowing us to do this thing or that thing. And so there's a little bit of modification in there that was a little more preferential. But even still, there were some things where you kind of had to do one thing, or maybe you weren't going to be on that raiding team, or, you were missing out damage in a certain phase, or whatever. So then they came up with, what we have now, which is that at certain levels you have 3 choices, and you can make a choice of one of those 3 items, whatever it is you want it to be, whether it's an AoE spell, or whether it's some direct damage thing, whether it's, you get to use an ability earlier or a couple of times, or whatever it is. They mixed and matched a whole bunch of stuff. And it was intended to be, again, this sort of freedom of choice, saying, well, you play what you want to play. You decide, you want to do this thing instead of this thing? Cool, you can do that, and you won't get punished for it. Well, it hasn't really worked out that way. There are still pretty straightforward choices to be made, and with the ability to switch back and forth between those talent choices, even during raid, you can just go in, you have whatever the reagents for it are, the Tome of the Clear Mind, right? And you just boom, 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 click a few things, change your bars, and you're ready to go. Not really a big deal, but again, kind of hemmed in by the situation. So once again, they're going back to the drawing board, and they're going to try and mix that up to see if they can really free us from these specific choices. And I will be perfectly honest with you, I have no idea how you get out of this. Because as long as there is something that is always numbers-based, there are always going to be better choices. Maybe, again, not a theory crafter. So you theory crafters out there, you guys got the grip on this. You let me know. But it seems like there are always going to be better attacks, better abilities, better talents, better defenses, whatever it is, depending on the situation that you're in. And if you're min-maxing, that's what you're going to have to do. And that is generally what is expected when you are raiding. All right, if you're an LFR, well, maybe you can get away with it a little bit. Well, you can probably get away with it a lot. But for those of us that raid, for people that raid, I don't know how you get away from that, because there are always going to be situations where, listen, I need this AoE that does this thing, or I need this single target that does this thing, because depending on the assignment, depending on the encounter, that's how it works out. And I don't really think that that's necessarily Blizzard's fault. I just don't know how you can construct a system that, unless it is purely aesthetic choices, that there aren't going to be some attacks or spells or whatever that are going to be better than others at very specific times. I don't know. Give me your thoughts. If you guys have some opinions on this, if you have any different thoughts, or you've experienced this in beta, or if you have a hand in theory crafting or any of those kinds of things, reach out to me. Let me know. I'd love to know and have a bit of a follow-up discussion on this on the next episode. Because frankly, I don't see how they get out of this, no matter how they tune it or what they do. But to their credit, Blizzard is once again going back to the drawing board, like I said, and trying to figure out a way to let us really play the style of game that we want to play. And for one, I'm happy to see that, just in general. But two, there have been some things with my own favorite spec that I have personally had some great problems with, and being able to customize that a bit would go a long way in terms of my enjoyment of plays. So I say good on you, Blizzard. Good luck with that as well, and hopefully we'll see everyone on the other side and be happier for it. Now, there was an item that came across the interwebs, probably about a month or so ago, and somehow I missed it. I don't know. Maybe I just fell asleep that day. Sleep at the switch here. But there is apparently going to be an official World of Warcraft cookbook coming out October 18th of this year. I completely missed this. And within it, apparently, they are going to be converting items from in-game to real recipes. And the examples that they give are chimeric chops, Mulgore spice bread, beer-basted boar ribs, Great Father's winter ale, jungle vine wine, and winter vale eggnog. And you probably won't have to go to the auction house for items for this. Just go down to Safeway or whatever. But I'm pretty pumped about this. And I'll tell you what, I'll make this promise to all of you. I will get that cookbook one way or another. Either I'm going to buy it, or one of my family members or somebody will buy it for me. For Christmas. Why Christmas? I'm not going to wait till Christmas. I will buy it. Listen, I'll get the thing on pre-order. And what I'll try to do is I'll start incorporating a cooking segment. Yeah, all right. I'm not Martha Stewart, but we'll give it a shot. We'll see how that goes. And I'll try to bring... I'll be honest, I'm kind of making this up as I'm recording this now. I'll see if what we can do is have a recipe of the week. And I'll prepare it. I'll let you know if it's any good or not. And I'll report back. So I don't know what order I would go in. I don't know how many actual recipes are in it. But, a recipe a week or a recipe an episode, that should last us a while. So Warcraft cookbook coming out. And just in case we're worried about who exactly it is that is behind this, the author of the book is a woman by the name of Chelsea Monroe Castle, and she actually did another book of this type where she created a companion cookbook, they call it, and it is entitled A Feast of Ice and Fire, the official Game of Thrones companion cookbook. So this person does have experience with the fantasy genre and creating some delicacies from within a particular franchise. So, hopefully that transfers over to us. I don't know if Mulgore spice bread is going to be any good, but who knows? At least the eggnog, you can put some booze in it, and it'll liven it up no matter what. So there you go, October 18th, 2016. So this year, if you have a birthday coming up, it's Thanksgiving. Maybe you want to throw something in a little different. Instead of having just turkey and all the other, it's all good stuff typically for Thanksgiving. But let's say you have to bring a dish. This will really wow the folks when you show up and you bring some chimeric chops or beer-basted boar ribs. You don't even have to tell them it's from Warcraft. They go, oh, boar, well, that's an exotic animal. So, you can wow the friends and family and get a nice piece of Warcraft in your belly at the same time. So if such a thing interests you, World of Warcraft, the official cookbook, you can pre-order it now on Amazon or any other publication distribution center of your choice, coming out October 18th. Hardcover price currently listed at $22.53 on Amazon. So if such a thing entices you, put it in that box, wait for it to show up, and I'll start cranking out some recipes come here later in the year. So the last thing that I want to talk about this episode is a particular issue that I think a lot of people who play Blizzard games have thought about at least once, and that is working for Blizzard. Over the years, as long as I've played this game, I know I've thought about it half a dozen times. I even applied once. I did apply once to do some sort of, I don't know, some sort of written work. Never heard back. I'm sure it was a terrible thing. I'm sure it was a terrible application in comparison to what else they get. But, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, this is a dream job. You see it all the time on Twitter and various outlets where Blizzard as an employer is generally rated very, very well. They have this beautiful campus. They take care of their employees. At least it seems like they do. It's a very high-pressure place to work, I gather. But they do seem to offer enough of the perks to make it worth working there. And you'll see that they do have the advertisements out there quite often for various positions that they're looking for. It is, I mean, it's a large company. It's a huge company. They have several thousand employees, I believe. And it ranges from everything from legal to PR to programming to quest design to, and it's not just Warcraft. It's Warcraft, it's Overwatch, it's Hearthstone, it's StarCraft, it's Diablo, it's Heroes of the Storm, it's unnamed projects. It's all over the map. They have so many projects that they're working on, and just as a company, they are a company. It doesn't have to be necessarily working on a game. There are positions within the company itself that you can apply for. So with that in mind, I saw this little tidbit cross my purview the other day, and they don't often release the sorts of numbers in terms of how many applications they get for different things. But there was a tweet that went out the other day from Blizzard itself, and it welcomed the 48 interns that they have currently that have been accepted into their intern program that they have. That was 48 interns out of 14,000 applications. 14,000 applications. First of all, I don't even know, as a manager myself, I don't know how you sort through 14,000 applications. There must be some sort of automated something that helps them figure that out. That gives you an idea of the kind of drawing power that they have when it comes to talent. But here's the thing that you ought to think about. If this is something that you're considering, if this is something that your heart is set on, that working for Blizzard or being part of the culture and what they do there, I say go for it. I would encourage anyone to absolutely 100% follow that dream. And here is the thing to keep in mind if you want to follow such a dream. You can't be deterred by a no. Can't let that stop you. I know numerous times I have seen or heard where current Blizzard employees applied not once or twice or 3 times, I mean like 10 times until they finally got accepted. I think that's important to realize when you are trying to work for a company that's that big, that's that well known and produces such quality content, is that not only do you have to bring your A game, not only do you have to come in with a certain amount of experience to give them something that they want, but you have to be persistent. In my own small way, now it wasn't with Blizzard, but in the current job that I have, I was out of work for a year before I got this job. And I've now been there for several years. But prior to that, I was out of work for a year. I'd been laid off. It was during the recession. Times were tough. And I went for a particular type of job. There was a career that I knew was right for me, that I'd gone to school for, that I had studied for, but I'd never been able to get into that field out of college. It was difficult in a sense that I didn't really know where to go or what to do or who to talk to, and I didn't prepare myself adequately. And I gave up on it. And this layoff gave me an opportunity to refocus. And so at that time, I focused in on what it was that I wanted to do, this career field that I wanted to go after. And I applied, and I applied, and I applied, and I applied. I went on interview after interview, and I talked to I don't know how many different people and sold myself and all of the great skills that I had and all these wonderful things I could do. And all I did was get turned down over and over and over again. And even after I finally got that job, there was a promotion that I was going for. And I applied, and I applied, and I applied. And 3 years went by before I finally broke through. And I went on how many interviews, I don't know. I have how many saved resumes and cover letters and all these things, I don't even know. But you have to be persistent. In this life, no one's going to give you anything. And it's true in every facet of the world in which you live. And if working for Blizzard or doing that type of work is something that you want to do, it's something that you care about, something that you're passionate about, Don't let anyone stop you, least of all yourself. Go out there, you apply, you get better, you do what you can every day to get where you want to be. So if you're looking to work for Blizzard, I encourage you. Reach out with every resource you have, do whatever you have to do, remain persistent, don't take no for an answer, and one day, you will get there. So that's the show for this week. Episode 12 of Unshackled Fury is now in the books. Thank you very much for listening. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Berserker Rage. You can also find this show on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. And if you have any comments, questions, hate mail, or otherwise, you can always send it to me at unshackledfuryshow@gmail.com. So until next week, get all of the Warcraft movie hype crammed into your maw as possible, and I will be back next week with my review of the Warcraft movie. Until then, strength and honor to you all.